Hey everyone, Nittany Lion Roar back at you, and this is part 2 of my SOS series, and today we're going to talk about solutions to save the Empires and Puzzles player base. If you haven't watched my first video on this yet, you're going to want to make sure to go back and do that because it really laid the foundation for why these solutions might be needed. And in that first video, I'd mentioned it's not a secret there's a lot of players leaving this game. A lot of people are feeling really frustrated and worn out. And so in order to stem that bleeding and to save the player base, I have a lot of ideas. I don't expect Small Giant Games to necessarily take all of these ideas, but I think these are all really good ideas I'm going to share with you today. I don't know how many new players are coming into the game right now, but I do think that there's time to make some good changes in order to make sure that in a year's time this isn't a dead game. So let's dive right in. First, I want to share a little bit about what you guys said. This probably, of all the videos I've done, got the most comments in the first 2 days on any video I have ever done. There's 287 comments there in 2 days with problems and ideas and things like that. So this certainly generated a lot of discussion. And it feels to me like there was a lot of pent-up energy behind that. So what were some of the things that you guys had said? Well, first, there were a lot of comments. Maybe the most comments were about difficulty obtaining Ascension materials. That's a big problem for a lot of people. And I think this is probably a bigger problem for cheap-to-play players and free-to-play players. So getting those 4-star Ascension mats, and even for like the newer players, I've heard a lot of complaints about like the getting fine gloves and things like that, but especially the 4-star Ascension materials. People are saying that those don't come along enough. Some people pointed out the low summon chance can make summons really frustrating. Maybe you saved up gems for a long time. You're really proud to finally have a 10 pull or even a 30 pull, and you go to do it and you end up with just all 3-star heroes or duplicate 4-star heroes, and that feels real bad. Another problem that people pointed out was Teleria. There's certainly a lot of people calling for continued nerfs of Teleria, that she's too strong. I'm not necessarily one of those. I tend to fall more in the camp of a problem is nerfing heroes after they're released. So I really don't like whenever they release a hero and then they go through and nerf it. When they rebalance, that's kind of interesting because now we have because they also boost some other heroes up, but I just really don't like them nerfing heroes after they're released, and a lot of people don't like that either. Especially if the hero you got is really special and it's really good and you're like, yes, finally, and then Small Giant Games goes, oops, sorry, mistake, and never mind, right? And that infuriates people. People have definitely quit over that. So this is something Small Giant Games has to be really careful of, and I think in the solutions I provide to you today, I'm going to be able to provide a solution to that. Zynga, interestingly, a lot of people had mentioned Zynga as a primary problem here. For those of you who don't know, Zynga's a mobile game company. In fact, it's probably I think I heard it's the largest one right now. And they bought Small Giant Games, 80% of it, like in late 2018. It was like December. The transaction might have actually gone through in like early 2019. But Zynga is known for their gambly style games, and it was really after Zynga bought Small Giant Games, 80%, not fully, but of course 80% will have a lot of influence on what happens in the game. That's when you really saw these like ads starting to pop in, and then not only just like, the summon portal, there's a lot of cool heroes now, so that's a benefit. They got a lot of money and resources to make those cool heroes, but like, there's the costume chamber, there's season 3, there's season 2, there's all these things which typically would be cool to like get different heroes and have some diversity in the game, but it's just so expensive every time and the chances are so low, it wears people out. Like whenever you were only pulling for so much, it didn't necessarily feel so bad, but since there's so much out there, and you put your hard-earned money into something and don't get it, that can be really frustrating. So people have mentioned Zynga because they feel like, there's a lot of animosity towards Zynga, not necessarily Small Giant Games, but Zynga, people are feeling like had a negative influence on Small Giant Games and has caused a lot of the problems that people are feeling today. Basically, them being more focused on the short-term money gains rather than the long-term health of the game. And lastly, I said that pay to win was a problem of the game. a number of people pointed out that it's pay to gamble, not pay to win. Pay to win would be like you spend money and you're guaranteed what you need to win the game. But this is pay to get a chance at something, and it's not even a good chance. So it's really pay to gamble, and that really goes hand in hand with what we were just talking about with Zynga. All right, so before I get to my solutions, I want to talk about my philosophy for my solutions, because this is the big idea here. This is what I think needs to improve about this game, and what my ideas, my practical solutions will do to improve this. First is give players more control over their choices. I think one thing that's really frustrating players right now is feeling a lack of control. Like, because of how strong defenses are right now, it really depends on your opening board and your first 5 matches. That's going to determine whether you win a game or not. And that feels more like luck to a lot of people. Now, I've done experiments with like how much of the game is luck and how much is skill, and there was actually some surprising results to that, so go check that out. There definitely is still skill involved in this game, but I think a lot of people have been feeling like skill is getting rolled back in favor of luck. There's all kinds of luck influence on this game. Everything from what heroes you get in the summon portal, to what the opening board is, to the matches you get, to, you know, all these different things. So if Small Giant Games were able to figure out how to give players more control over actually playing the game, playing the board, over what heroes they get, what they choose to build and do, or even customize, that's going to feel better to players. If you come into this game and you just feel like you're rolling dice, what's the point? I don't have to play this game to roll dice. I can just go get some dice and roll it, and that's not fun. That's not why that's not why I play games. Okay, enough about that. Another big philosophy here is less work, more play. A lot of people are feeling like the game has turned into work. That if you want to get ahead in the game, you are just constantly grinding. You're farming the map constantly. So your phone is just constantly consumed with running through the maps. You have to go through your regular raids, your raid tournaments. When there's an event, you got to go through that, the event quests and everything here as well, so you're just constantly working on. So when it starts to feel like work, it's not that fun anymore. So we got to think ways to like change it up. I think some of the solutions will do that to make it feel more like play, less like work. And lastly, the game needs variation and diversity. And on the one hand, it kind of looks like the game has some with all the, the seasons and the events and the quests and the things that I mentioned, except that so many of these things now require you to spend money on them to participate in them well. Like, for example, in the tournament, if you're like a mid-level player and you're out in day number 2, then you're not playing the tournament anymore unless you spend gems. So, like, while it looks like there's diversity in the game, oftentimes there's not. So like, if you really want some of the cool event heroes, like, you got to spend a lot of money on that. So if you're not willing, like if you're a cheap to play player or a free to play player, it looks like there's diversity and there's really not. So I think we have ways to increase that as well. So all right, let's get into some of these practical solutions here. First of all is the summon gate here. So let's talk about some things with summons. Now, this wasn't a problem I outlined in particular in the last video, but there were enough comments on this one. I had some really cool ideas about it, so I wanted to address some of the comments with some solutions that I had. And I'm curious to know what your solutions are, so make sure you leave that in the comments. First, I would love to see rare, epic, and legendary medallions that can be traded for a hero of choice. So how would this work? Well, let's say you go in to do a summon, you do a 10 pull, you would get a mix of 3, 4, and 5-star heroes like you normally do, but occasionally a rare, epic, or legendary medallion would pop up. And that medallion would let you trade it in for a hero of your choice. Your Small Giant Games, you figure this one out. But, it could be like, perhaps, if you're doing this kind of summon, 3, you get a legendary medallion, and you spend it on the regular season 1 summon portal, then maybe 3 legendary heroes pop up from that particular one, and you pick from that, right? That would allow players to feel like they have some more control over what they're choosing to do here. And for example, if there's an event up, and I think all medallions should stay the same. I don't think there should be different medallions for different events or anything. I think a medallion is a medallion. And if there's an event, let's say season 3 is up, right? And you go into that and you can spend your medallions on that. Then, like, I would spend a legendary medallion there, and 3 5-star heroes would pop up, and I would choose one from that. This, I think, would make players feel a lot better about the game. Think about the choice you would have with that, and how that would feel. Also, I think that Small Giant Games should let us use or cash in extra heroes for medallions. So I don't know, like 3 5-star heroes, or 1 fully maxed 5-star hero for a medallion. I don't know. Maybe that's too cheap, but something like that, right? Because one of the big complaints of this game has been that you summon and just by chance you happen to get duplicates of the same hero, and then you're kind of stuck with them. You never do anything with them. So this at least gives you a way to do something with it and makes you feel like you have more choice. And then lastly, I'm going to spend a little more time talking about this later when I talk about solutions to pay to win, but I think it's time for Small Giant Games to decrease the cost of summons or increase the chances, or both. Yeah, I'm going to save what I'm going to say about that until later, because there's a lot to say about that. All right, let's talk about emblems. I thought about this a lot. I think the solution to emblems being overpowered, one of them is reduce the amount of emblems needed for the 5-star talent tree. I thought about 4 stars. Should that be reduced? And I thought about 3 stars. Should that be reduced? And I actually think those are right. Like 15 emblems for a 4-star node, that's pretty good. That's fine. But the jump from 15 for a 4-star. So let's see if I can go show you one. So the first one is 30, but mostly they're like 15, right? So they jump between 30 and 15 for 4-star. Let's go look at a 5-star. 65 and 50. You're jumping from 15 emblems to 50 emblems? In what world is that okay? That's like not commensurate at all. I could see 15 to 30, maybe, and that still would take a long time. But if you remember from my first video, what I said the problem with the emblems is, now that people have maxed their defenses, the defenses are so hard to beat because the rest of your roster does not have, typically, See, I have a lot of 5-star heroes here, but they don't have emblems on it. So they're way weaker than the defenses I'm attacking in, like, war and stuff. So the emblems have to get spread out more, and I think that's the solution to it. So just reduce the amount of emblems needed for the 5-star tree, and only the legendary talent tree. I think that the others are actually probably fine. Also, balance the talent specials. There's 3 in particular that feel overpowered right now, and that's Rogue, Fighter, and Paladin. The others are fine. I love the little benefit that they give, but I think that Fighter, Rogue, and Paladin are just a little bit too strong, and when they get paired with a hero that's already good, it's too much. So go back and balance those out a little bit. And lastly, allow emblems to be transmuted into other emblems. Of course, you would take some kind of penalty, but like, for example, I have 1 5-star sorcerer, and I just leveled up a 4-star sorcerer, but I really don't have many sorcerers. I don't have many druids either. I have way more druid emblems than I have heroes to spend them on. So, like, let me trade him in. Okay, so I trade in like 100 emblems, and I maybe get like, I don't know, 50 fighter emblems out of it or something like that. Feels bad, but at least I can use them, right? So again, another thing that will let players have some more choice. All right, in war, first of all, I would suggest that, and we have a war going on right now. Let's pop in and see what's going on with it. Oh, very close war against Crystal Palace. We have 40 hits left. They have 12 left. This looks like we may win. against Crystal Palace. All right, come on, nuts. Let's take him out. All right, so let's talk about war, though, because, again, as you can see, as soon as I come in here, it's all Teleria tanks all the time. There's some Heimdalls mixed in here, but for the most part, it is Teleria we're looking at. And Crystal Palace went ahead and did something, but they're probably going to lose for it, which is the thing here. They're doing, like, double red flanks. Right? So, like, we're doing the traditional blue flank, like blue and red flank. And we're probably going to beat a really, really good alliance here. So, like, right now, the way war is constructed with that Teleria, Gravemaker, Vela front, there's no diversity. So I think the Small Giant Games should mandate a different tank color for each week and just leave it for the whole week, so we're not having to change the defense every war, but like every other war we can change it up just like we do for tournaments. Like once a week is fine. And the reason I say a different tank color, which is different than tournament, because if you remember from tournament, they ban a color. I'm not saying ban a color from war. I'm saying mandate a different tank color. And the reason is because if you do the ban color thing, well, you're going to get 4 weeks of Teleria tanks and 1 week of not. And that doesn't really help. But if you rotate the 5 colors over 5 weeks, wars feel a lot more different. You're really having to think about how you set up your defenses and which ones you give emblems to. Because at this point, if you think about it, you don't have to nerf Vela. Like, Vela is very specifically an excellent flank with Teleria. But when you have to start rotating her around because Teleria is not the tank, she's not as good. She's still really good, but she's not as good. And you didn't have to nerf her. That's what I was saying from the beginning. If you allow for these rotations, you don't have to nerf heroes because they do not become overwhelming and frustrating and a constant presence. All right, next thing. I think there should be some new war scenarios. You know, we have field aid and attack boosts and arrows right now, but they really only benefit the defending team, and that on top of emblems is the worst, at least for now, until attack teams are stronger. But I think just like the tournament, there should be a scenario that benefits both the defense and offense equally, right? And then I think this would be cool. Allow us to watch the war matches being played. So if I scroll down here, was someone just attacking me? No, I'm already dead. So, okay. We've got a battle going on here. Wouldn't it be nice to, like, click on this and then watch the battle? I want to watch the battle. Especially in really close wars. Here's the other thing that would make war really fun. Provide an in-game war chat. Like, okay, so... You know, maybe we go to click on this thing and there's a chat in here too, and we're chatting with the people, and like, you know, we talk about things as they're happening with the other team. And maybe they speak another language or whatever and it doesn't work, but at least it's there, it's an option. I know Small Giant Games might be worried about how players might treat each other, and that's legitimate. That is absolutely legitimate and probably something they don't want to deal with. So at the very least, you might be able to put some emotes in here or something, like where we can, like, I don't know, just like taunt each other in a fun way, or like have a puzzled face, or you know, make it simple, or some way for us to be able to communicate with each other or engage with each other would be fun. Because one thing I worried about when I first started playing this game and wars were brand new was it sort of feels like PvP, but you're not actually playing against each other. You're still playing against artificial intelligence. At least that would allow more engagement. All right, let's talk about farming a little bit. I'm just going to move through this one real fast. I think they should get rid of loot tickets and just let us auto win all farming, like as if we have infinite loot tickets. Again, this is one of those things we'll take the grind out of it, make it feel less like work. We're still limited by world energy. You know, we get pots that, you know, like the world energy pots that will let us refill the world energy, but those don't last forever either. And if people really want to spend money on refilling it and just farming and farming and farming, okay, let them, you know, who cares? And then I think another idea, if for some reason there's something I'm not thinking of, that giving everybody basically infinite loot tickets would cause, well, you can top load resources into the tougher levels. So if I go up to the highest level, that should give me the most resources per world energy because it's the hardest one and that's just the right thing to do, right? Like that just makes sense. So you could spend less time farming if you could just use a high cost, like this costs 7 world energy. You could potentially get through it quicker if you just stack it with more resources and allow us to not have to like farm the lower levels. All right, let's talk about pay to win. Here are my solutions to that. First, reduce the cost of the summons. This is something I said that I would talk about, combined with increasing the chance of 5-star heroes and 4-star mats. All right, so let me just take a moment to discuss this with you. This sounds wonderful to the players. I know, we're all like, well, yeah, absolutely. You know, the second thought that immediately comes then is if everything's a lot cheaper, then real quickly everybody just has all the good stuff, and what's the point then? Everyone will just use all the best stuff in the game. And one of the things that can make this game better is that limiting factor. But I do think there's room to reduce costs and increase chances. Because if... And Small Giant Games and Zynga is really going to have to look at this. If you really do start to lose players, the right thing is not always to increase prices or to just have expensive product. If there's a lot of demand, yes, you'll make a lot of money. But if the product's expensive and there's not a lot of demand and players aren't buying it, you're not making money. So it's not always right to have an expensive product. Lower the prices and increase the chances. And yeah, people might be spending less money individually, but you might get more people spending money. And that would balance that out. So that's why I say that. It doesn't have to be drastic, but just a little better. This is notoriously one of the most expensive games, I think, right now that's being widely played. And here's the way you make up for that. So Zynga, you're a company. I know you want to make money. Small Giant Games, you too. But, you know, don't let summons and the 4-star mats be the choke point. Like, let players play the game. It feels really bad to a free-to-play or cheap-to-play player if they get an awesome hero and then they have to wait 4, 5, 6 months for the mats for it. Like, they just look at... Nobody wants to just look at the hero. They want to play with it, right? So let people play the game. Don't let the choke point be the summons and the 4-star mats. Sell things like... There's so much you could do to customize this game. Think about the customization you could do. It's about time they overhaul the kingdom, by the way. Expand it so that, like, some of these buildings where we have to, like, make some choices in what we're building. At this point, we're having to sacrifice good buildings for other buildings. We'll expand it and then let us, like, decorate it. And the castle could look different ways. It could be like an ice castle or a fire castle or, you know, whatever, you know. But let us make it our own. Let us choose how the buildings look and things like that. You know, with skins and things like that, how that could equate to this game is like costumes. I'm going to talk about this in a little bit too because I think costumes could be overhauled. But this is a way for you to still make money and not stick it to the players. This gives players more choice, again, more freedom. If they want to spend the money, they can. If they want to make their heroes look cool, they can. You could even do like... you know, you could even like choose your own like backgrounds for the raid fights and things like that. That would be kind of cool, right? There's a lot of people who would probably spend a little bit of money on that. Now for the deal ads, because this kind of goes along with pay to win, because in order to pay them to win or pay to gamble, whatever you want to call it, they're selling us lots of deals, and I think we're getting so many deals now all over the place. The Goblin Balloon, you know, like the pop-ups that are like constantly coming up and everything like that, because they're trying to make the money off of us. But, you know, I played this game during a time where it was simple and it was nice, and this is why you got players in the first place, not because you had all kinds of ad bubbles everywhere. Put all the ads in the shop. Like, if I want to spend money and I have it, I will. I'll go into the shop. I'll look at all the deals here. You can make them look really super fancy and cool and everything, but put the ads in there. Or if you really have to have a pop-up ad, then when you go into the summon, let it pop up in there. But clean up that main screen. It looks terrible. All right, just a few other ideas based on what you guys had said in the comments, or areas or problems that I hadn't addressed before, or just other cool thoughts I had. First of all, improve the advanced buildings. They suck. I hate them. There's very few good advanced buildings. I think the alchemy one is the best one, and I'm not even using that much anymore because once my 4-star mats got all evened out, I just didn't really need to use that as much. I've not even touched the Hero Academy. I know that there might be some improvements coming to that, but that's what I'm saying. It needs to be improved. Give me some incentive to build it. That was a major disappointment and a waste of resources. Something that I think goes along with that is if you're going to ask us to spend so much time and resources constructing these advanced buildings, then do not require us to use gems at the end of it for stuff. Like, you know, coming in here, if I want to transmute something, I spent so many resources to, first of all, build this building up to where it is, then to research the last level, and then I have to spend gems to use it? If we put a lot of work into something, don't put gems at the end of it. If we work for it, we earn it. The gems are a way to get out of jail free, basically, right? You spend gems to not have to do the work. That's, you know, a way that Small Giant Games has done this is, like, for example, if you're upgrading a building, you can use gems to, like, speed it up or whatever. Okay, if you want to do that, more power to you. But I do not agree with using the advanced buildings to have people spend more gems. Banners versus costumes. Now, this is a cool idea I had, but it would cause them to have to totally redo the costume idea. I think costumes could be a cool skin that people spend money on, and it doesn't have to be too expensive. Maybe, like, I bet people will pay $3 to $5 to, like, change how a hero looks, and, you know, maybe make a whole lot of different skins. Maybe body armor types of things. You know, I don't know, but, like, let us customize our own heroes that don't do anything for the gameplay. Just, like, let us change how they look. So the costumes, I think, would change to that. You just dress your heroes up. And that's how they should have been implemented in the first place. So I'm really taking the costumes and splitting them into two. Now, the improvements that come to the heroes. Yes, that's not part of the I don't want to see that part of the costume. What you can summon for in that, I think, would be, like, banners. So, like, banners would be, and this is something that doesn't exist, so I'm just, like, making this up. But, like, banners would be something that is indicative of a hero's skill set. So you could have, like, let me go find a hero that I have a costume for. So we have Quintus here. Here's the regular one. Here's the costume one. Okay, right? Take the costumes out of this. Pretend there's no costume here. Pretend this is a banner. So, like, there's the season 1 banner. But then maybe I go summon for, like, other kinds of banners or something like that. Or I just straight up buy it. Like, let me buy it. I'll buy a cool banner, right? The banner would be if you cover up the look of the costume and you just look at what the different skill is. And you could have this banner, like, show up on the raids and stuff too. Maybe it's just a little icon that's over their chest or something like that, so that you know what their ability is. And you can obviously in raids click on the hero too to know what the ability is. But the banner would change the ability, and that's what people can, you know, possibly summon or pay for in one way. And then the costumes people would summon for in another way, and it would be cheaper, more accessible. I don't know, just an idea. And that would allow you to do more art for the skins, is what I'm getting at. You could do a whole lot more, make them cheaper, and people would have a lot of customization options. Okay, and then lastly, expand the kingdom for better customization. So I'd already kind of, like, hinted at this one, but, like, this is getting a little too full now. It's been a long time. Let's expand the kingdom. Let's put other land out here so we can, you know, construct other buildings, other places, and things like that. All right. Well, that is everything. I know that was a lot. I'm curious what you think. If you had any ideas I missed, please leave it in the comments. And you know the drill by now. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notifications when I make more videos like this one. You know.